I'm Anil Kumar, and now let us explore polynomials in factored form. So whenever polynomials are given to you in factored form, it's kind of simple to sketch a graph. So that is the exercise for us. Sketch graph of f of x equals to x plus 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. So that's the first part. And then we have an extension to this question. It says, explain how the graph changes if any of these factors is squared or cubed. That means we have three factors. If we square one of them or if we make them as a cube, what happens to the graph? That is what you need to explain. So you can pause the video, answer the question, and then look into my suggestions. Now here, let's begin by sketching the given function. So the function given to us is f of x equals to x plus 4 times x plus 2 times x minus 3. The steps involved are, first check the degree, right? So let's find what is the degree of this. Degree is 1, 2, 3. When you multiply x, and x, you get x cubed, right? So we get degree of 3. And the second thing which you need to know is the leading coefficient, right? Leading coefficient. Leading coefficient you get by multiplying all these x values. So x times x times x, it is x cubed. So what we get here is positive 1. Is it okay? Important thing is positive 1, correct? Now once you know degree and leading coefficient, you know the end behavior, right? So that really gives you the end behavior. So that gives results into end behavior. Right? We'll use all this strategy to sketch. Let me first explain all these steps. So positive leading coefficient means right side is up, and odd degree means opposite ends, right? So that is what it is. So the end behavior for us is, in this case, it is from quadrant 3, since it is right side up, to quadrant 1, right side up. Opposite ends means quadrant 3, right? So we got that information. Now what we will do is we find X intercepts. X intercepts means you need to make these factors 0. So the first one for us is x equals to minus 4, then we have it minus 2, and then plus 3. Once you know the intercepts, you should see what is the order of these zeros. We'll write order of zeros. In our case, all are linear, right? So I'm writing 1, all are linears. So in this case, we have all the information to sketch. So let me make a very rough sketch here and explain again how we can sketch a polynomial when given in factored form. So zeros, mark them on the x-axis, minus 4, minus 2, and 3. So let's say this is minus 4, and let's say this is minus 2, and let's say this is 2, and let's say this is 3 for us. Okay. So we have marked the zeros. Now check the end behavior. Leading coefficient is positive, right side up. Degree is 3, opposite ends. So that is the end behavior, quadrant 3 to quadrant 1. Do you understand? So quadrant 3 to quadrant 1. Right. Now each zero is linear. That is to say that the graph actually will cross these zeros like a straight line, right? Because it's linear, right? Since it is linear, the graph will cross like a straight line. We are starting from quadrant 3, so it will go like this, come back at 0, and go like this. Now connecting these will give us the graph, right? So we'll just connect these points to sketch the final graph. So what we have here is polynomial always is a smooth graph. So it's kind of like this. Then we have connecting this point, right? And then we have to connect that point and 0, and then go up. Done. So we have a cubic function straight going through the 3 x intercepts, crossing like a line. That is how we do it. One more thing which is important is to find the y-intercept. This will be treated as a family with a here. Now we know a is 1. In that case, let's find the y-intercept. Substitute x equals to 0. So we get 4 times 2 times minus 3. So 4 times 2, 8, 8 times 3 is 24 with a minus sign, right? So minus 24. That is also a check for you that your graph is actually correct. Perfect. Now let's look into the second part of this question, which is what happens when I make these square or cube one of these factors. What happens? This is what we are going to explore. So what I will do here is I will sketch two other graphs. One where I'll make one of the factors as, or let me just do one shot. So what I will do here is I can write one function where, let us say, one of the factors x plus 4, let me leave this as such, we'll pass as a straight line. The next one, let's make this as cubic, x plus 2, right? So I'm making this as cubic. And the third one, I'm making that as square. So when I change the order, what happens? This is what we're going to see, right? So we'll sketch this function right here, following all the strategies which we have learned, okay? Now we know the zeros are same, so they are at minus 4, minus 2, and at plus 3. However, degree has changed, leading coefficient is same. Let me write down the degree first, right? So degree for us is 1 plus 3, 4, 4 plus 2, 6. So now it has become even degree. Do you see it is even? Okay. And leading coefficient an is still 1, right? So it's positive. Leading coefficient still positive. That really means that the right side is up. Leading coefficient positive, right side is up. Since it is even degree, both will face on the same side, right? So in this case, we are going from quadrant 2 to quadrant 1, correct? So that is one change, which is because of the change in degree of the polynomial. Now let us try to understand what happens at the x-intercepts. How does the graph change at x-intercept? This is the major thing which we have to understand, and that's what the question is. Explain how the graph changes if any of these factors is squared or cubed. Okay, so we did one, we squared this one and cubed the other one. So we'll see both the effects. Okay, let me begin from the left side. Whenever you're sketching graph, try to move from left to right. So this 0 we kept linear. So here the graph will cross as it did last time, but from quadrant 2 to 3. Next one is cubic. So it will go like a cubic function, kind of like this. X-axis becomes tangent and the graph crosses. That is what happens when you cube. So let me write down here what happens to the cube. So when we have cube, then x-axis is tangent and graph crosses. So this is what happens. So it crosses like this. Okay. Now I'm sorry. Yeah, this is cube. Yeah, perfectly fine. So 2 was cube. Okay. So if the 0 is changed from linear to cubic, in that case, the graph will cross the x-axis, but x-axis will become a tangent now, right? What happens when you square one of these factors? At this time, it is going to be like a parabola. It becomes a turning point. So you're on the you're coming from quadrant 1 itself, so it just turns like this. Do you see that? So when you square, then what happens? Let me write down. When you square, then x-axis is again tangent. X-axis is tangent, right? However, it does not cross. It does not cross. Does not cross. Okay, this is important. But what happens? It turns. So that is a turning point. So you get an additional turning point when the degree is changed from linear to quadratic, okay, or from odd to even, I should say, in general. Is that okay? So that is what it really happens, right? So now let me just connect these points and sketch the graph. moving from quadrant 2 to 1. So we have here, so it's kind of like, kind of like this. So let's continue. It's not so nice anyway, like this. Let me go like this, then we go like this, and then turn, and then go like that. So that is how we get our graph. Note that at 2, let me connect so that it is absolutely clear to you. So this is cubic. Do you see that cubic thing? X-axis tangent and the graph crosses, and here we have square. It turns. There is an additional turning point for you. Okay, as I said earlier, it's good practice to find the Y-intercept. So let's substitute 0 here. So what do we get? We get f of 0 equals to 4 times 2 cube, right? So we have 2 cube times 3 square minus 3 square. It's a big number. So 2 cube is 8. Okay, and this is 27. Well, you can multiply these numbers. 8 times 3 square is 9. Okay, but positive 9, right? So you can multiply these numbers. 72 double is, okay, so 72 times 4. So this Y-intercept is 8, and 7 times 4 is 28, 288. Okay, so that becomes the Y-intercept for our example, right? I hope the concept is clear to you. So whenever you change the factor from linear to cubic, then the x-axis becomes tangent, the graph crosses. But if you change it from linear to square or even, in that case, there's a turning point. X-axis is still the tangent, right? So this is the x-axis, and that is f of x for us. Okay, so that is what really happens. I hope this video explains you in all details what really happens to factored form of polynomial when sketched in the form of a graph, and when the factor's degree is changed, right? Thank you, and all the best.